welcome to Hanging with the Walkers. Here with my host and co-host, Rogers Walker. Good evening, and welcome to another lovely segment of Hanging with the Walkers. As you can see, my other half, my better half, is here, not here, not here, but he's here. So he is with us. We know the bills have to be paid, so he is on the road. So just praying traveling grace and mercy for him. He may or may not be able to call in on tonight, but that's okay. We're here, and we're going to do what it is that we came to do because I'm so excited about the young lady that is coming to hang out with us on tonight. You know what to do: call, text, tag, email, tweet, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you have connections. Please reach out to them and let them know that we are live with Dr. Patricia S. Dixon. I didn't put the S in, but I saw it on your page. I'm like, okay, so I know there's a lot, but when I tag your page, it popped up. So welcome to Hanging with the Walkers. So excited to have you on tonight. Please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and what you want to share with our audience.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate you for allowing me to be on tonight. And my name is Dr. Patricia Dixon. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, a professor, author, and life coach. And I have a private practice. It's a group practice located right in Palmetto, Florida, where we do both in-person and online therapy. I also do different seminars and retreats. And then, as I said, I'm also a professor for a graduate school program in the Tampa Bay area. But through my life coaching is when I do the retreats and the seminars.
Okay. Now, we know who you are and what you represent and your background. So just tell us one thing that your circle, your staff, those that you are around don't know about Dr. Patricia Dixon.
Hmm. Let's see. So that's hard because I'm a very open book.
They say
But
they know you. Oh, I know
yeah,
everything about her. But there's always this one thing that we kind of like keep in that they don't know.
I would say, the one thing they don't know. Let's see. That's so hard because literally every time I'm about to say something, I'm like, nope, they know that.
Right,
Um,
right.
but I would say it's hard for me to say what they don't know, but
Hmm.
I'll say the part that's like most important to me for people
Hmm.
to know and that I almost always lead with. And then I guess the part that people don't know is just how important it is to me is my relationship with my mother. Most people don't realize like how deep that connection was slash is. She's deceased now, but that's like the most important thing for me because large part of who I've become as a woman was because of who she was.
Wow,
Mhm.
wow. That's
Mhm.
good. I kind of like picked that up that day, and of course I can relate to that because I was really close with my mom, and
Mhm.
to think that we know they're here in our memory, we know they're here in our heart, and things we do and stuff that we accomplish, but to know how close you really are to a person, um, sometimes folk don't understand the relationship
Yep. Mhm.
and how close it
Mhm.
is and how greatly it affects us. They always and we give good advice. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's gonna be okay, and I know it's gonna hurt for a while, and you're gonna get over it, and all of this kind of stuff. But still,
Yeah.
there's just sometimes like a little hurt that's there, or a little place that
Mhm.
healed but still has a scab that if you touch it, it's going to open back up. So
100%.
that's
Because
it.
what
That's
I'll
it.
say of what they don't realize, so I've been through a lot, like health wise,
Right.
where I'm a breast cancer survivor. I had
Hmm.
stage 3 breast cancer
Hmm.
and beat that, and then had several health complications afterwards. So
Hmm.
I've literally almost died 4 times. But I tell
Wow.
people is that even with all that, the loss of my mother was harder than going through that.
Then
So
anything
that's
else.
something people don't know. Hmm.
That's it. And anything else you ever could have went through, like you say, a health scare, true enough.
Hmm.
Same here. but I promise
Mhm.
you, to know that she closed her eyes and I can't physically hear her voice, to me was more detrimental than anything the doctor could have
Yep.
told me, or that I could have went through.
Mhm.
Because I won't say were, they are
Mhm.
our strength, always will
Yes.
be. And everything that
Yep.
we hope to accomplish or hope to be, they may not physically see it, but we're saying, hey, mom, I know you, blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
folks don't understand and realize that, that's where we are. Everything we
Yeah.
do honors them. So we won't do anything that is not um, kosher or not top standard or top shelf, because everything
Mhm.
we do, we want to represent them. So thank you for sharing that and being so transparent about that.
Mhm.
So degree after degree after degree, I love it. Young woman of color that have accomplished so much. How long has your business been open in Palmetto?
So I started off where the first year that I became licensed, I was working with somebody else's group practice in St. Pete for 1 year. And
Okay.
then I opened my own practice um, that next year, and it's grown. So I've had it since 2012.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and it's just grown into a large group, a larger group practice.
That's it.
Mhm.
And then with a lot of avenues, you shared so
Mhm.
much great information that day. I was trying to capture as much as I could, and be able to share as much as I could on the audience, with the audience tonight. So they'll say, okay, yeah, I know her, but hmm, I really know her after tonight.
Mhm.
Um, Manatee Associates of Counseling and Assessment LLC, and then a
Mhm.
clinical psychologist. Um, and we always ask the question, what's the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist?
hmm So for, and this is a common question, and it comes up frequently where people ask, are you a psychologist or a psychiatrist?
Right.
Psychologists, we do talk therapy. And
Okay.
so psychiatrists will sometimes do talk therapy, but for the most part, they're prescribing medications. So psychiatrists do prescribing, psychologists, we do talk therapy.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. And like I said, you're so easy to talk to, and even the presentation, I heard you say that you're shy and don't like to do a lot of talking, but that flow was so easy and so smooth at the mental health and wellness, and I'm like, really? She don't like to talk, but she does such a great job.
And it's interesting because like I tell people all the time, like I'm shy, but I'm an extrovert when it's when I feel some level of I know what I'm getting into. But like
Mhm.
small talk and like cocktail hour, that type of thing, the hour before everybody gets together, that part's hard for me because I'm like more of the quiet, shy one that's like more sitting off to the side. Still a
Oh,
part of
really?
things, but off to the side.
So don't mingle. I'm there. I'm in the presence of the room, but I don't mingle.
Yes. Yep. Yep. And I still feel a part of things and include it, but the shyness, sometimes you can get overwhelmed by a lot of conversation. So that's the shy part of me.
That's a
Mhm.
good one. I mean,
Mhm.
considering what it is that you do for a living, it just seems
Right.
like you could just come up and just start a conversation with somebody. But
Mhm. Mhm.
wow.
Yep.
And do you
Small
find
groups
yourself,
we can do.
small groups you can do, but when it comes to large groups, that's not your cup of tea.
Unless I'm like, if I'm talking in front of people, I can do a whole presentation in front of thousands and I'm fine. But it's just those like going from one small conversation to another that makes me a
Uh-huh.
little shy. Mhm.
Wow,
Mhm.
wow, that's good. That's good. Because you don't find yourself, can I say that in a nice way, psychoanalyzing people when you talk to them.
Yes, I do. I do. And it's hard, especially because like I believe wholeheartedly one of the things that is my guiding point for when I'm working with people is eyes, and it's the stuff that's not said. And
Uh-huh.
so like if I walk up to somebody and I say, "How are you?" and they say I'm doing well, but I'm looking at their eyes, I'm like, "Oh, no you're not." It's really hard for me to stay in the space of, "Oh, they're good. They're doing good."
So you can read them by their eyes.
hmm Well,
Wow,
and
that's
people's
good.
just body language and everything, it says so much more than what we sometimes want it to say.
Gotcha. Okay,
Mhm.
okay. And I know that, and I heard you say something at the clinic. mental health and wellness clinic that day. But your reason for choosing the career that you're in now.
hmm So it started, and I feel very, very blessed to have known this. But I knew I wanted was going to be a psychologist since the age of 6.
I thought
And the
that was
way
so
that that
awesome.
came about, yeah, is that my mom, her dad had died, and she went to North Carolina in order to, as he was his health was failing, to take care of him. And then he passed away while she was there, and she attended his funeral. But when she came back to California, which was where we were, um, she was in her bed and she was sad. And so I remember climbing up in the bed, and then I'm sitting there and I was talking to her and I was asking her different questions, and she was answering until she stopped and looked at me, and she says, "Well, aren't you my little psychiatrist?" And what she meant was psychologist. And she was like, "Well, aren't you my little psychiatrist?" Because she realized she's talking to a 6 year old. And I remember being like, "Yep, I am." And then
Wow.
hopping off the bed and walking away. But I knew in that moment, like, that's the calling of my life. I didn't know
Wow.
exactly what all that meant at 6, but I knew whatever it was I was doing was what I was meant to do.
Wow. I just thought that was so awesome. Um, Sometimes there are things that we do in life, and it's something that we love, something that becomes natural to us. But when we share it with other people, if we're not careful, they will discourage us.
Yeah.
Because
hmm
in another real world, if I could say it like that, why you asking me all them questions? You go away from here. You know, you just a
Yeah.
child. And what
Yeah.
you asking me that for? You know, and what can you do about it if you're asking me about it? It's nothing you can change, you know, but it was just a great listening ear and being
hmm
attentive to where she was emotionally at that time. And I just
hmm
want to say that to those that may be listening tonight. There are things that you've already developed, there are things you've already walked into early in life, but somewhere, somehow, someone kind of discouraged you and made you think that that was not where you're supposed to be. So now we have proof in front of you on tonight that there
hmm
are things that come from us. We are birthed or brought into different areas at different times in our life. And do you recognize your gift that you're walking in? That was
100%.
so, oh my goodness, that was so awesome to me to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Because
And
when
it
people,
reminds me of the scripture, death and life are in the power of the tongue.
yes,
And so it's sort of like my mother spoke that life into me. You know,
wow,
she, like you said, some parents will be like, "Child, get away from me." Like, what are you
right,
doing? Go.
that's it.
But to sit there, and she was engaging, but it was very much a God thing of her not even remembering I'm a 6 year old, and having to pause and then look at me and recognize and see something in me. And I
Uh-huh.
think that too often we see certain things in people, but we don't necessarily comment on it.
That's it.
But that comment is speaking life into them.
Well, you know, when they are in certain faiths or denominations, like Koji or the fivefold ministry gifts, when they see giftings inside the kids at a young age, they will speak into it. They
Yep.
will begin to, you know, cause that child to walk along that path that is
hmm
good for them. So,
hmm
but sometimes a lot of kids don't have that,
Yeah.
um, and then they
Mhm,
just fight to become who they are and
mhm,
get lost along the way. So I just thought that was so interesting that you said that, and I'm like, I got to make sure I mention that because I thought that was so powerful that at six
mhm,
years old she spoke that thing into your life, and you
mhm,
stayed there. You didn't change. You didn't waver from that. So thank you so much for accepting
mhm,
the call to be able to do that. If you're just
mhm,
joining us on tonight, we are in the presence of Dr. Patricia Dixon, Manatee Associates of Counseling and Assessment LLC. She is a clinical psychologist, CEO, professor, life coach, and also an author. So we're going to make sure we address that as we go a little further along into the program.
mhm,
Um, I always wonder when it comes to people that are able to, I'll say, deal with the mind,
mhm,
listening to people's issues and concerns. I won't say problems, but issues and concerns all day. I think I was reading, and that was years ago, about suicide rates of people that are psychologists or psychiatrists because they hear so much and they're unable to handle that. Um, what is it that you are able to do to kind of like unwind or step away or be able to handle the things that you hear and run into in the
Mhm.
run of a day?
Yep. So that's one of the common questions that I think people have where they say, like, how can you hear all the sad things that you hear and then still walk around being happy? And part of it is my perspective on when people are describing what their issues are, what their concerns are, what their pain is.
Mm-hmm.
I see purpose behind the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also this strength that I see in people that
Okay.
allows it to not stick into just being somebody in pain. And then I do my own self care also, which
Okay.
is, whether I'm talking to a counselor or therapist or my own little support network of other therapists who have similar experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And then for number one, above all else, is like the faith piece,
That's
where
it.
even for me, sometimes going to another psychologist doesn't necessarily help me because they're saying the things that I know will be said. And it's really,
Right.
how they say the worst student is a teacher and the worst
Right.
patient is a doctor. Well, it's
That's
hard
it.
to sit in that role when you do it. And so me going to like a spiritual leader, that's the stuff that heals my soul and helps me carry the weight of the things I hear.
Gotcha. I know, and it was said over and over again about having a good um, pastor and a good psychiatrist, psychologist in your corner to be able to vent and share.
Hmm.
And it's just so funny you said that because you do see some that have their own personal psychiatrists or psychologists that they're able to
Hmm.
go to vent and release and that sort of thing. Um, so that's awesome because I realize my faith is what keeps me. This is
Yep.
my
Hmm.
education. This is what I do, but it's my faith in God that kept me and brought me through being able to almost lose my life and
Yeah.
then losing something so near and dear to me. And I'm still standing and I have not lost my mind.
Hmm. Amen.
That's it.
Hmm.
That's it. That's it.
Hmm.
That's powerful. That's powerful. So take us through a day in the life of Dr. Patricia Dixon from before I get to work through my
Hmm.
day and then what I do to de-stress.
Okay. So a day in my life. I wake up pretty early, and my mornings consist of me trying to like set the tone for my day. And
Okay.
so I have a dog. His name is Buddy. He actually comes to work with me. He's part of the team.
Nice.
Yeah, his job at the office is to show people toys, and he's great at it. So he'll show you a toy, won't give it to you, but he'll show it to you. He heard his name. He jumped up here. But so I let him out, and then I have a cup of coffee, and while I'm drinking my coffee, I do a Bible devotional.
Okay.
Because like I said, that kind of sets the tone for my day. And
Hmm.
then I check out what's on the news. I very much have a very calm type of morning that's not
Okay.
rushed.
Okay.
And then shower and get ready to leave for the office. And then
Okay.
I'm at the office pretty much all day
Wow.
until evening. And then in the evening time, if I didn't meal prep over the weekend,
Uh-huh.
when I come home, I'll cook. I enjoy cooking. And that's one of my ways of de-stressing. And
I just want
then,
to say it's that therapy. Okay.
yep. And then I tend to keep in contact with either family or friends in the evening, because a lot of my family, none of my family lives in Florida. And
Oh
then
man.
many of my closest friends live out of state too. So I'm always touching bases with them.
Wow. Wow. So those are reasons to be able to take trips to
Yes.
on your
Mhm.
vacation time.
Yes. Yep. And
You'll do
that's
some
part of
journaling.
my self-care too, is traveling. Mhm.
Uh-huh. So that also helps to kind of like de-stress.
Yes, very much so. Hmm.
Okay. And I think that's good because, like I say, when you have a getaway, some people don't realize how important that is to actually be able to get away. As couples, we always encourage them to change course. I may
Hmm.
be in Waimama right now, but maybe go to St. Pete or maybe
Yep.
go to Clearwater, go to another
Hmm.
county if you can't go to another state, and just be
Hmm.
able to de stress, be able to unwind, be able to actually de-stress yourself emotionally and mentally and then physically. And we just need that opportunity, that feeling that we need to unwind and then just
Yeah.
let it go. Yes,
And I think
that's
that
so
also
important.
gives opportunity to like ground yourself too and center
Mhm.
yourself, because we can get lost in the busyness of day to day, go, go, go type of, society where we lose ourselves in it. And so sometimes that big vacation, that opportunity to decompress and to be able to like ground yourself and recenter yourself is not only good just for you, but also, as you said, like when you're in relationships, for that couple, it's good for
Mhm.
reconnecting as well.
That's it. That's it. Now, services that is offered at Manatee Associates of Counseling and Assessment.
hmm So we do individual, couples, family counseling, and we offer services from children to adolescents to adults. And the type of therapy that we do, we also do group therapy, and we very much tailor it to the needs of who our clients are.
Uh-huh.
And then in addition to that, there's workshops that I offer, retreats that I offer, and seminars.
Okay. Um, and this was a big one since we went there about the moms.
hmm
A whole lot of grief counseling, family loss,
hmm
attachments to those that were close.
hmm
Do you see a lot of that in our community?
Yes, very much so. And I'm like I said, I'm a professor also for graduate students, and I also have graduate students who I supervise that are at my practice. And I often tell them that one of the greatest things that we can do is learn to conceptualize loss in
Uh-huh.
people's lives and the impact of it. Because grief is this shared experience that everyone will have in one way or another at some point in their life. And
Yes.
so when you can grow an understanding of what grief means to people and not think of it as just this stage process and then somebody moves forward, we carry grief. We just, and it never necessarily leaves us. We just learn how to carry it in a different way, to
Hmm.
where initially it's really, really heavy. And then as we keep going through life, we're still carrying it, but we're not carrying it in a way that stops us or feels heavier than what we can bear.
Hmm.
But I
It,
see a lot of grief. Mhm.
it's such a touchy subject.
Mhm.
Running into those that have lost a child, and you
Mhm.
hear this famous statement all the time: "I'll never get over it."
Mhm. Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
as a layperson, how do we approach that? How do we what do we say? You know, I know we lead them to the word. I know.
Yeah.
So I mean, what do you
I
say?
always say, I always say, I don't believe in us getting over anything. I don't
Okay.
think we can get over things. I think we get through things. And part of getting through it means recognizing that that pain, yep, will be there. But them trusting that as they are enduring that pain, that they have support. And because I think one of the harder, and I'll share this story of
Okay.
the night my mother died.
Okay.
And the only thing that gave me comfort in that moment was my pastor came, my friend, a close friend of mine, two close friends of mine, and one of them married to a pastor. They all were there. And my pastor was, praying and trying to give me encouragement of, don't worry, with time, you'll be okay with God, everything's will be okay. And you're gonna be okay. And my friend, she had lost her mom, and she softly says, no, no, you won't get over it. And in that moment, that was so comforting for me, because she got it. Because the only thing that was going to make me feel better in that moment was my mother being alive again, and that wasn't going to happen. And
Right.
so I think when somebody loses somebody that's significant, especially when it's a child, because when you lose a child, that defies natural order. So it's sort of like,
Mhm.
to try and conceive something that doesn't match our minds for natural order is
Mhm.
inconceivable. So
Mhm.
when somebody's like, oh, you should be past that, or you'll get past this, they won't. But will they still be able to move forward? Yes. And will they still be able to move forward with a fulfilling life? Yes. And can they
Mhm.
still have joy? Yes.
Mhm.
But it's okay for them to allow the coexistence of pain plus joy. Like, and quite frankly, I do believe that some of that pain is what keeps us turning back to God over and over again, in
Hmm.
that piece of where we'll never not need him.
Hmm.
But when somebody says, I'll never get over this, um, my response to them is, you're right, because we don't get over things, but we get through it. And that's that piece of, like, as you have different moments of pain, like, I'll be here with you as you get through it.
Wow.
Mhm.
So we don't get over it, we get through it.
Yep. Hmm.
Hmm.
Buddy had to make his appearance. This is the little dog that comes to work.
Oh, you're so cute. Hi, buddy. How are you? So is he considered a therapy dog?
um He's not natural, like, not truly trained, but yes. And he very much is, like, the individuals, even people who don't necessarily really like dogs, find comfort in seeing him there. And it adds this piece for them of, like, a willingness to open up and a willingness to talk, because when they see this little dog where he wears a tie,
Yes. Yeah.
and he wears
Oh, that
pants,
is so
so when he
cute.
walks up, they're like a dog, and so it makes them smile, especially kids. There, when I first started bringing him, it was because he was a puppy. But what I learned was that having him there made kids talk. And
Wow.
at one point, where one kid, she told me, because I didn't have him there that day, she put her arms across her chest, and she said, "If Buddy's not here, I'm not talking." Okay, okay.
All right, buddy, you got a job.
Exactly. I was like, he is hired. And that point forward, he
Wow.
comes every day. Mhm.
What kind of dog is he?
He's a Cavachon.
What is it?
Cavachon, half Cavalier, half Bashan.
Wow. Okay. Oh, now that's a. I don't think I've heard that one before.
Yep. It's similar
Cavalier
to a
Cabochon.
Cavapoo. Yep. The
Okay.
the
Okay.
Cavapoos is similar to those, but yeah, but he's Cavachon. He's a little more husky than the thin frame of a Cavapoo.
Now, will he get any thicker or bigger?
Nope. This is his full grown size. He's a good 25 pounds, stocky.
Now, I've seen where my friend has a therapy dog. She actually has a note from the doctor that says that this is a therapy dog. We see them
Hmm.
coming in restaurants. We
Yep.
see them, coming in different public areas, and they go
Hmm.
everywhere with them because they are comfort. Veterans, I see a lot. Um, and I see something that hospice does. They have these like stuffed animals
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
actually bark, head moves, and
Yep.
this sort of thing.
It brings comfort. It really does. And what I part of what I learned too was the way Buddy became, like, where I was like, oh, this is his job, is he used to sit in my lap during when I was doing sessions. And then the moment somebody would start crying, he'd lift up his head, he'd jump down, he'd grab a toy, and he'd go and, like, bring it into their face.
Wow.
He would never give people the toy, but he'd be like, woo, 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 it's okay. And so to this day, that's what he does. Like, even in therapy now, if somebody's crying, he brings comfort to them. He'll tilt his head, and then he'll bring them a toy.
Wow. And I've seen them in action to where um, I went to a patient's house, and she didn't call it a therapy dog, but I declare to you that's what he acted like, because I was having one of those days, and
Hmm.
I was shaking my head, and I'm like, boy, I just need to be home somewhere by myself. But that dog came to me, rubbed up
Hmm.
against me, leaned, just bumped me a little, and then just
Yeah,
looked up at me with these puppy dog eyes, like he was saying, "It's gonna be
it'll
okay."
be all right.
Oh
Hmm.
my goodness!
Hmm.
And my face, turned a little red, blushing.
Yep.
She
Yep.
said, "Oh, he made you smile," and I'm like, "Yeah," and that doesn't happen. So they do
Mhm.
have this sense
Yep.
that
They
that
do.
something is not
Mhm.
right,
Yep.
that you need a little extra attention, more or
Yep.
less. Oh my
And they will
goodness!
bring it to you. Yep.
Wow, wow. I was just gonna check and see if we had anybody on the line. You're calling into hanging with the walkers. Who do we have the pleasure of on the line?
Rogers.
Well, hello. How are you, Rogers?
I'm doing great.
Good. Thank you so much for tapping in on tonight. This is actually my other half, my husband, the one that I was saying I wish he was at the mental health and wellness clinic the other Saturday. So when I got home, I was bubbling and bursting at the seams and talking about this mask and talking about what I experienced at the mental health and wellness. He said, "Well, that's good. That's good. That's good." So, do you
Mhm.
have any questions for Dr. Dixon on tonight?
I'm just basking in the glory just to be a part of the journey that she's sharing with us. It's
Uh-huh.
truly a blessing that she stopped by to hanging with the Walker fam,
Mm-hmm.
and just to share and to enlighten. I'm sorry, to share and to enlighten on what really takes place in life itself, because there are so many individuals that are dealing with situations and issues and pressure and doubt and fear until they just hide and just close themselves off from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And to have
Mhm.
someone that can sit there and listen to you and to encourage you and to strengthen you and build you at the same time is much needed in society today. If we have a lot more of individuals like the doctor here, I think we have less issues in life,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mhm.
we can't get undressed in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And people that we love, people that we know, there's certain things that we only going to share with them.
Right.
But with a stranger, we can be freely open to flow and to share exactly how I really feel without being judged, without being talked about, without being criticized. So it's just truly an honor. I just want to say thank you, doctor, for sharing your journey with us and enlightening us on life itself.
Thank you again for having me. And with everything you were saying too, like that's the mass exercise that you guys participated in. That very
Oh,
much is about that piece of where the world sees us in one way in terms of what we show them. But there's a lot of things that people are holding on in the inside that they don't feel like they can say out loud to anybody, even sometimes to themselves. And so
yes.
we wear this mask, and that mask is exhausting to wear sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
that's where therapy begins to help, where it gives an opportunity to take off the mask and let's look at the things that are either hard to look at or admit that you're struggling through.
That's it. And I'm just showing it. She said that it's kind of creepy when you see it. She said, but it's effective. So I still hanging on to it. It's still there, and the
Mhm.
exercise that she did with this was phenomenal. And I was sharing at the hats off to Shining Light and Sister Natasha for even bringing that to the forefront. But even how we began to share, to
Mhm.
me, I thought was significant. Some people were bold and, I can say what's going on with me, and they wrote all over their mask. But here I
Mhm.
am, because of who I am, what I represent. Mine was so small and
Mhm.
tiny, even though these are things that I wanted people to see when they see me, that I'm happy, that I have smiles and I'm satisfied. I have strength and power and unity, and I believe in togetherness. But it was written so small and in a corner of the mass. It wasn't written all over like
All.
this, like it was powerful. Like, this is who I am. I'm Barbara, and this is
Mhm.
what I didn't even do that even to
Mhm.
myself. If
Mhm.
this is what I believe about me, this is what I want people to see and know about me. But do I believe it? Because if I didn't, I was still hiding it, even in the
Yeah.
midst of the mass. And then she
Because
told
it's
me,
not like you put it on the forehead, you put it right there on the
right
side of the cheek
over to
too.
the side where someone has to actually confront me and
Mhm.
then get to know me before they can get that close to me to know that this is what I present, that I represent
Mhm.
power and unity and togetherness.
Mhm.
And if you
Mhm.
think about it, the unity and the togetherness should have been just written bold right across my forehead, that this is what
Yeah.
I stand for. But for
Mhm.
some reason, I began to just put it somewhere that was like low key. Like,
Mhm.
I want you to know, but I really don't want you to know. And then when she said the things that people don't know about you, the things that you hide, oh my God, it got even small. I got to bring it up to the camera for you to see. It got even smaller, because
Mhm.
these were the things that I know that they were there that you may be dealing with. So of course my husband said, "Okay, read it to me and tell me what it is that it says." I'm like, "Really, babe? You just gonna make me go over
Make
there?
me say it out loud.
You gonna make me say
Mhm.
it out loud?" And he talking about, "Are you
Mhm.
crying?" I say, "No, I'm not crying." I say, "It's just emotional when you think about the things that you say you want people to know, but you're still hiding it.
Yeah. Well, and then keep in mind too, what was fascinating and what's always fascinating when I do that exercise is that there's such a shared experience in the room. There's not anybody that sits there and says, "Oh, I had nothing to write on the inside."
Right.
Everybody has something they can write on that inside of what's hidden, what's the part people
Yes.
don't know that you're fearful even of them knowing.
That's it.
And so much so that when people were writing it, people were hesitant. People said, "I started and then I paused." Um,
Yes.
and like you said, you're like, I wrote and I wrote it even smaller. I was like,
Yes.
ooh,
Yes.
because it's confronting a truth that isn't an easy one to see and acknowledge. But by
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging it, it gives us the opportunity to work through it. And by
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging it in a shared way, it's like we all have our stuff.
Mm. And see, and the sad part about it is, as she was trying to point out, even as leaders, the pastor that was there in the room that night, that
Hmm.
evening, he was full. Being a
Yeah,
leader, being over people, being in ministry, being responsible for their souls, but he was full,
yeah.
and
Hmm.
there were things that he still had to get out, things that he still had to share. And then you get into a room such as that, and he said, "I know y'all gonna talk about me. Even though I'm saying all of this, I know y'all gonna talk about me. About the things that I shared and how I feel." But at least he was getting his healing in the midst
Yeah,
of, and I like that, and that's
yeah.
why the NAMI that the young lady does from Pensacola,
Hmm.
so powerful
Hmm.
because she does it for leaders. She brings them together in an atmosphere, and even then, she said that we come together with our peers, which is even
Hmm.
which sucks. I just got to say it like it really truly is. We'll come in
Hmm.
a room full of our peers, and then
Hmm.
we or our family members, and we still cannot release the pain, the hurt, the
Hmm.
scars from rape, molestation, being used, talked about, cast out of the families, ignored, death, separation. We're still not able to openly release that.
Yeah.
And then
And the hardest part is even within the faith community too, is sometimes people are misguided and thinking, well, if your faith is strong enough, then you won't feel X, Y, and Z.
that's it
But
right
the
there.
truth of the matter is that all throughout the Bible, it talks about, people going through their different trials and struggles. And it doesn't mean that they have any less of a relationship with God.
Right.
It means that they're human, and Jesus, having gone through every human emotion, is fully human, fully God. Every human
Yeah.
emotion, he understands that piece of grief. He
Hmm.
lost his friend. He understands
Hmm.
that piece of pain.
Hmm.
And he understands fear, because even in
Hmm.
the moment where he's about to go to the cross, when he had that moment alone in the woods with God, he said, "Hey, yo, this is my
Right.
version. Hey, yo, this cup." He looked in that bitter cup and he said, "This
Okay.
cup can pass me by."
Yes.
But nevertheless, not my will, your will be
Nevertheless,
done. But
that's it.
there was that fear of like, I don't want to drink this bitter cup. Like, this is ooh. But there was
That's it.
nevertheless, not my will, your will be done. And so we have those moments too, where everything that's on the inside is like, yeah, I got fear. Yes, I have grief. Yes, I have loneliness. Yes, I have nevertheless, not my will, your will be done. But it's
Hmm.
still acknowledging those feelings for us to get through them
Hmm.
instead of trying to block them and hide them, because they're still
Hmm.
there.
Hmm. My husband said something. He said about the stigma that is attached to the men coming in for therapy or counseling or having someone to vent to. But how do you feel about that, as far as from the man's point of view?
Well, let's look at our pedigree, look at our background
Mm-hmm.
of where we come from,
Mm-hmm.
how we grew up, how we were raised.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes a difference of, do we go to someone and talk about our problems,
Mm-hmm.
or do we bottle our problems up?
Mm-hmm.
The majority of the family of color, of black people, they bottle it up.
Yeah.
So that's why so much stress, so much anxiety, so much medication that we're on, et cetera, because we don't open up, especially us men. And when we do open up to someone in the first time that we hear what we have shared, we shut down.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But to be a authentic child of God, this when the release start to take place. Until then, because a natural man is not just going to open up and share anything.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about some stuff, but he's not going to share what's really bothering him.
Okay.
When you ask the average man what's going on, he's going to say nothing.
Yep.
That's his first response.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have been transformed by the renewing of your mind and you're willing to accept what's going on within you, now you're able to share. Not until then. And you're able to be open and flow freely. And we hear the other stigma that men don't cry. And that's another reason, another issue that men don't share. Because they don't know how to release. Crying is a release of detox. Of the things that are holding on the inside, things that you're dealing with, fighting within. Crying release all that. It allows you to breathe. It allows you to flow.
Well, and it's vulnerability. It's allowing yourself to the space of vulnerability. And again, it's scriptural where the Bible says, "In your weaknesses, strength is made perfect." And it's that piece of like allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. And one of the greatest resources God gives us is each other. But that gets to, what was said earlier about that piece of like, if more of us would take that time to speak life into one another and to notice what we're feeling, what we're experiencing, and speak to it, that gives like opportunity for healing. But men, most definitely, they'll go play basketball. They'll do all sorts of things before they will talk about what they're feeling. But I have so many men that have said, like, when they cry, it's usually in the shower, and then every now and then in the car, but more often in the shower, because that's their time where they're by themselves. But there's a need to get it out.
Health reasons why. And it's documented that when grief is there, all kind of attacks of the body, autoimmune disorders and stomach issues, heart, back, neck, headaches, migraines, GI, you name it, it's there. And there are even some that grief was so heavy till it was unto death. Because they couldn't release it. And that's why it's so important, like you say, to get it out. If you're just tapping on tonight, we are in the presence of Dr. Patricia Dixon, Manatee Associates of Counseling and Assessment, LLC, in the Palmetto area. Clinical psychologist, she's a CEO, professor, and also a life coach. She is an author of an amazing book that I know that you need to get. And it's called Author of Embrace Your Inner Toddler. When I saw that, after you sent it to me, I was telling my husband, I said, now, you know what? I said, if you think about this thing and this title seriously, we don't like to be called a child. I'm not a child. Don't call me that. But the things that a toddler needs is what is fulfilling and comforting to us. Everything that you can think about, the attention, the nurturing, the holding, the loving, the feeling wanted, all of that is what we need. So share with us about your book.
So I have a copy of it. So it's called Embrace Your Inner Toddler, a Blueprint for Joyful Living, Living Joyfully. And it's important for me to say it in that way, living joyfully, because it's about living joy fully and completely. And when you think about the 4 core characteristics of children, it's nap time, snack time, playtime, and an unapologetic no. And those are all things that, for whatever reason, as we become adults, we lose insight into the importance of. And so what the book does is it takes those 4 characteristics and it talks about different strategies of re-implementing those characteristics into our adult life to help improve our joy in terms of how we feel about ourselves, our joy in our relationships, and our joy within our careers.
Wow. So nap time, snack time, Lord knows we like snack time.
And when I'm talking about snack time too, I'm not just talking about the food in between meals. I'm talking about like a emotional snack.
Yes.
where every now and then we need encouragement, to give ourselves as well as to give, our partners, give our spouses. We got to like throw a Scooby snack every now and then we need it even in our careers. That's
Uh-huh.
what kind of helps us through the tough times is when we have that emotional snack of encouragement. But
Wow.
then also, there's a playtime. And then, like I said, the unapologetic no. When you watch a toddler and they say that no, they mean it. So
Yes,
they're
they
good.
do.
They're great at setting boundaries. They're not
Uh-huh.
able to necessarily always enforce those boundaries. But when they know how to establish it, when they don't want to do something, they will tell you no.
And they'll stand on it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Mhm.
Regardless, you can take their food, take their snacks, take the tablet, you can take everything from them, but when they say no,
No. They
and then
mean
we
it.
don't we don't practice that as adults. But
Right.
I like that about that snack time.
Hmm.
So when you say snack time, short spurts of attention, is that what
Yeah.
snack time is? Okay.
It's it's providing comfort because when
Okay.
you think about like any parent, when they take a child out, they will never ever come without a little baggie of snacks.
Right,
And why?
right.
Because they know that in between time, the child needs a little bit of comfort. And when a child receives that snack, it's not only satisfying like hunger, it's also them recognizing that my needs will get met by the person who loves me. And
Wow.
so, if we know that our toddlers need that, why would we think it's any different in adulthood? Why would we
Right.
not realize that our partners need those emotional snacks to know that when they're needing comfort, we're going to be there to give it to them? So,
Hmm.
those little words of encouragement offer emotional snacks.
Wow, that's good. That's good.
Mhm.
I mean, when you think about it, even when you walk the dog, sometimes you take little snacks to reward them for
Yep.
stopping at the right time and not running away from the collar that you got on them. And you reward
Mhm.
them when they do
Yep.
something. You reward them when they're obedient. Why can't you
Mhm.
do it for your mate or your friend? That's what
Yep.
I
And
say.
even for yourself, sometimes we don't give ourselves that credit and that acknowledgement of the comfort that we need. Like
Wow.
again, even going back to your mask, like you said, these are all these like positive things that you got written small and in the corner of your cheek of the mask.
Yes, yes,
Instead of the bold, like this is who I am. This is what,
yes.
I know I want people to see and know about me.
And we say we are confident about these things, but I'm telling you, I'm gonna hold on to it for a while because I said that I'm confident in
Hmm.
strength. I'm confident about bringing people together. I'm confident in my smiles, and I'm happy. I'm confident that I'm satisfied. So if I'm confident in all those things, why was it so easy for me to kind of hide it? And of course, my husband say, "So you're not satisfied?" Yes, I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with my life and my marriage, my ministry. I'm
Hmm.
satisfied. But when I got ready to write it and express it, it was not written all over my forehead that yes, I am happy and satisfied. Why? What
And
was that?
I think part of it sometimes is the good that we know about ourselves and want people to know about us. We stand in a space of humbleness, and so we don't realize that it's okay to have these positive things that you know about. It doesn't make you any less humble.
Gotcha.
It's okay to say it loud, say it proud, um, and it not take away from the fact of like you still have humility, you still have that ability of recognizing I still got growth. But we're fearful of saying the things that we're like, yeah, I'm proud of myself. Yes, I feel good about that.
Mm,
Yes, this is something that I am and I've done, and being able to stand on it. Whereas toddlers, they'll stand on their truth and like
mhm.
let you know.
Wow. That makes sense. That makes sense because sometimes on this side of ministry,
Mm-hmm.
when we're boldly proclaiming that we're happy and satisfied, we already know that the enemy starts to launch an attack.
Yep.
Like, okay, now there's a fight now. You happy, you think your relationship is bulletproof and knife proof. You think that. So
Mhm.
let me test you
Yeah.
and see
Mhm.
where it actually is. So to just shout it and say it and live it and show it, like, okay, no,
Mhm.
because you're not ready for the fight that's going to go along
Hmm.
with it once you say that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that makes sense. That makes
Hmm.
sense.
Hmm.
Hmm. I'm telling you, it's helping me. Whether they ever get anything out of this, it is helping me on tonight. And the services that she offers at her place of business, you were sharing that day about those that cannot.
Yep. So, like, the affordability piece is one of
That's
the
good.
most important things to my mission, where it's
Okay,
like I want any and everybody to be able to access therapy if they need it, which is
gotcha.
part of the reason why I've taken on students at my place. And it's not a watered down level of care. I don't believe in that either. I believe everybody needs equal access to care as well as equal access to quality care. And
Uh
so I
huh.
have a high standard for anybody who's at my practice for the services we deliver. And so
Hmm.
the students that come, though, one, the beautiful thing is, like I said, I'm a professor, so I get to see their um, abilities up close and personal when I'm
That's
working with
good.
them as my students in the classroom.
Uh huh.
And then they are master's level clinicians already because they've already, by the time they come to my office, have completed at least 2 years of courses. And so having them at the practice gives me the opportunity to be able to give people a sliding fee for services,
That's
which
nice.
makes it accessible and affordable.
That's
And
it.
then the other method that we use for affordability too is by doing group therapy,
Hmm.
um, because that offers like a group session where one, there's the power of connectedness, but
Uh huh.
also lower fees for group than there would be for individual.
Now, do you do like online counseling sessions, or is it just the students does that?
We do both. Yep. Everybody at my practice is equally accessible for both in person and online. And I would say currently, in the number of individuals that I'm seeing weekly, it's probably 50-50, which ever since
Okay,
COVID, that's become a bigger thing of online
okay.
services. Hmm.
Because I know as soon as I said that, as soon as I shared that, I have one or two persons that said, "Does she do her online counseling?" I even like message, a couple of people, "Hey, I met this awesome young woman um, at this mental health and wellness clinic, and she's neat. She's easy to talk to." I always say that. Then a lot of times it makes people like want to reach out, once they
Hmm.
do. She
Yep.
listens, and she gave us some things that opened up some insights, and I just dropped it like that, and then I just start sharing your information. I'm like, if
Hmm.
you take it, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't
But
make
they
him
got
drink.
100%. Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
something that you gotta want. It's something that you need to
Hmm.
say, I'm okay with
Yep.
accepting help.
Yep. Well, and we all need help. That's the thing that
Hmm.
I say too, is where, even therapists, or psychologists, we go to therapists too. Those, if you ever go to a therapist who says, I will never go to another therapist or I'll never go to therapy, I'm like, if you're not willing to test your own product, something about that doesn't seem right to me. And so,
Right.
and you heard me say earlier, like, I'll go to a therapist, but I also know that sometimes what I need is from a spiritual counseling,
Spiritual
or a
level, yeah.
spiritual leader. And that's only because I have to be able to step outside of myself as a therapist in order to receive help. So,
That's it.
but we all need help.
And then, like you say, considering the loss, considering the mindset as to where we were after the loss, a thousand times over, a thousand times over, I wished at that point when my mom passed that mentally I was able to talk to someone. Like you say, my spiritual life, I felt like it didn't take a beating because I know God makes no mistakes. But where I am now, I probably would have, reached out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
shut down, didn't eat, didn't come out the house, didn't go to work. I didn't do anything. And now,
Hmm.
25 years later, I can openly say to myself that I was going through depression. Would I have
Yeah.
admitted that then? No, I'm not. I'm
Hmm.
just lost my mom. But now I can say boldly that that was depression that I was actually going through because I had two kids. How you gonna
Yeah.
quit your job and let your car go back and all of that, and you got two kids to support it? I didn't care.
Yep. Yeah. That's the hard, like, that's why I say, like,
Yeah.
that piece of getting over, there's not a getting over, but there's getting through. And
Yes.
especially with stuff like that, it's because you have little to no choice but to, because like you said, you had two little people
That's
relying
it.
on you.
That's
And
it.
so you're like, I have to keep moving forward. And I
That's
and
it.
I tell people, like, for me, the literally a month after burying my mother, I found a lump in my breast that was stage 3 breast cancer.
Mm.
And I was so mad. Me and God had some words. Like, I was so, and I probably would have stayed mad
Yeah.
until I sat there and I heard my mother's voice, and it was her saying, you can be a fool if you want to, which was
Hmm.
basically her being like, you need God too much right now
Hmm.
to, not hold tight to him. But I
Yeah.
was like, God, I did my fair share. I lost my mother. I took care of her while she was sick. And now you made me sick and I have to go through this sickness apart from her. I was like, that ain't cool. I
Right.
wasn't,
Right.
and then but I had to have that moment. Nevertheless, not my will, your will be done.
That's
And
it.
I
That's
tell
it.
people all the time, my favorite scripture is Romans 8:28. All things work together for good for those who love God, for those that are called according to his purpose. And you heard me say earlier, like, one of the things that protects me from the weight of the pain that people share is
Yes.
the purpose behind it. And
Hmm.
so while people are thick in their pain, they don't necessarily see the purpose. They just feel the pain. But as they keep going through it and getting through it, they
Hmm.
start to recognize the purpose as well.
And I heard you say, I wanted to write better, but I didn't dare write bitter because I'm trying to get better.
Well, it was this, because you have a choice. Anything you go through in life, you have a choice of allow it to make you bitter or better.
Hmm.
And what I wrote was, I didn't want to write the word bitter because I
Uh-huh.
just, but the truth is that there is a bitterness that I'm still
Yes.
working through flushing out. But I wrote something in place of bitter. Um, I wrote something in place. I was like, but the truth is, I needed to write bitter. Like, that
Right,
was
right.
I still didn't write it on my mask, and I told y'all I ain't writing it now. I didn't write it then,
That's it.
but
That's it.
it is there.
That's it. That's it. And then, like you said, a whole lot of things that we did not write that we should have written,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
because it's something about the release of
Yeah.
letting it go, saying it,
Yep.
doing it, writing it down.
Mhm. And
Um,
there's some things we're not ready to let go too, and that's okay.
mm,
Because when we did the exercise, if you remember, there was, the gentleman stood up and he shared, what was on his mask, and he didn't share all the stuff on the inside. And then somebody was
right,
like, well, you didn't share what's on the inside. That's
right,
okay,
right,
because
right.
we share at our own pace, and that's okay.
Mm. That's what we have to remind those that are around us, because
Hmm.
we become bootleg or jackleg counselors,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
we want to pull it out. And we even
Hmm.
that I think that following Monday, oh my goodness, it was still on me. I was still full about it. And I did a segment on hanging with the walkers, and I began to go through the scriptures of the things
Hmm.
that Christ already told us what we can do when we do feel depression, when we do feel
Hmm.
those things, that there should be the joy of the Lord that's on the inside of us
Hmm.
that could help
Hmm.
bring that thing or heal that thing that we're not releasing, we're not sharing, we're not getting enough of, we're not allowing his joy. And when we don't allow
Hmm.
his joy, then we get that weighted down burden, kind of thing that I can't release it. And I think I said something like, depression, is it real? And
Hmm.
that was a
Hmm.
topic that I dealt with because we like to use that term. And my husband and I get into a discussion about depression. You're
Hmm.
not depressed. You're not depressed. The Bible even talked about anxiety, and
Yeah.
it
Yes.
mentioned the word anxiety.
Yep.
So we get into this discussion about depression and anxiety. The only way
Hmm.
these things come upon you is you allow it.
Hmm.
What's your opinion of that?
I think that, let me say this first.
Okay.
Anxiety and fear are hand in hand, because it's
Okay.
the same thing. Anxiety is fear. Fear is
Uh-huh.
anxiety. They go hand in hand. And in
Hmm.
the Bible, I think more than any other word, and don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure more than any other word, fear is mentioned more than any other word in the Bible. repeatedly. And to
Mm-hmm.
me, there's some significance in that. That
Yes.
tells me that if it's mentioned that much in the Bible, that means God knew that, or knows that we're going to face fear and anxiety frequently.
Yes. Yes.
And so um, I would love to say that it's just a matter of us opening the door and then we allow fear, depression, anxiety to come in.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Mm-hmm.
so much deeper than that, because the reason why we experience anxiety, depression is because sin entered the world. That was
Mm-hmm.
done long before any of us first, graced this work. Like it was long before us. And so
Yes.
because sin entered the world, we are going to experience some of these negative emotions. And it's not just a matter of we allow it to come. Um, but the world is such to where it sometimes comes to us. But
Yes.
what how we deal with it is what we allow.
Uh-huh.
So, like, not coping with it, not working through it, that's when we're allowing it to consume us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but as far as its onset, you know, I could have lied all day and said, yeah, I'm not depressed over my mom dying.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was depressed. I was
Right.
sad. I was depressed. And it wasn't
Yes.
because I just opened the door and decided to be sad. No.
Exactly.
In fact, my greatest fear about that depression was, am I ever going to experience this joy that made the essence of me, the joy that my mother used to say, like, always keep your smile, that makes you
Yes.
you. And I was like,
Yes.
where's my smile? Where's my smile? So it's not so much that we allow it and invite it in, as much as when sin entered the world, we're going to experience it. And
Mm-hmm.
then we
Mm-hmm.
have the choice now of how we navigate through it.
Gotcha. And then I
Mhm.
say, thanks, thanks, Adam and Eve. Thank you for, he meant for us to live in a happy, peaceful place. And, thanks for ruining our life. Thanks for us having to bear pain, having kids.
But we stand in the place of like knowing the ending,
Yes.
and so
That's
even
it.
though we go through like those difficult moments, this is one of the reasons why I think it's okay to acknowledge what's on the inside of the mask, acknowledge though, is that we already have victory. And
Uh-huh.
so like when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, a lot of people would come up to me in the most dramatic fashion, be like, you're not gonna die. And that was sweet and nice, but my fear wasn't dying. Like I wasn't, like that wasn't my worry. Like I didn't care about that. One, if I died, I would have been with my mom. It was
Right.
okay. But I wasn't afraid of dying. But I would look at them. I'd be like, that's not my fear. Like I'm not worried. I don't have death anxiety. That's not
Uh-huh.
my thing. I was like, but good to know you're worried about me dying. But what I did have was I didn't want to go through what I knew I was about to go through. I didn't want to go through
Right.
chemo and be sick. I didn't want the vein part of me. I didn't want to lose my hair. I didn't want to go through a, double mastectomy that I had to go through. I didn't want the radiation. That's what I was like. I don't want that. I don't want that bitterness. I don't want that
Yes.
bitter. And so sometimes I think people think that our focus is something different than what it really is. Sometimes it's the going through. Like I
Uh-huh.
can live in a space of knowing I got victory and I'm okay with that. Like I know victory is there. But I
Mm-hmm.
also know that on my journey towards victory, I'm going to face some storms along the way.
Yes.
And I have this quote. I did this seminar a while ago called Stormy Blessings, but I have this quote that I came up with of, the storm is not your destination. Sometimes it's just serving as the transportation to your blessing.
That's
And
good.
so like I don't like riding out the storm. I don't like pain. I don't like any of that.
Right.
However, just because I'm going through the pain doesn't mean that I don't still stand in the knowing of there's victory on the other side.
That's awesome. That's encouraging all
Mhm.
by itself. Now, you also gave us this,
Yes. Hmm.
and this
Yep.
was to represent where we were hoping to be or
Yeah.
accomplish, right?
Yes. Your future
Okay.
self. Where do you see yourself? Because I think we always got to keep a vision of where we're going. And that's again that piece of the storm is not your destination. Sometimes it's the transportation to your blessing. Is that the victory is there, that version
Uh-huh.
of you is there. And the more we're aware of how we want to see ourselves and where we see ourselves going, the more we know of what to do in the right now to get to where we're going.
That's good. Where do you want to see yourself? Some people want to see themselves depressed, down, poverty stricken, broken. But then there are others that want to see themselves happy, blessed,
Yep.
healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So where do you see yourself? That's good. That's good.
And what do you have to do in the now to get to where you're wanting to be? Hmm.
Mm. And are you willing to make the sacrifice to get
Hmm.
to your future self? Because that's
Yeah.
also another challenge too.
Hmm.
Sometimes we don't want to do the work.
Yes.
We
Hmm.
just want, my husband say, microwave blessing, just push the button and boom.
Yep.
Or like
Yep.
Bewitched, she just
Yep.
wave the wand and then here
And
you
it was
are.
done. Hmm. Hmm. Yep.
But that
Yep.
only worked for Darren. That doesn't work for.
Yes. Yes. We've
Oh
got
my
to
God,
go
this is
through.
good. This is good.
Hmm.
Anything else, honey, while you're on the line?
I'm just sitting back and enjoying the conversation.
I want to make sure you have any input or anything, while you're out there in the big wild world wonder, trying to get from point A to point B. But I'm telling you, this even in this, you're live, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, there are still those that are still dealing with issues that even online we don't even want to expose. Even
Hmm.
online we don't want to talk about. Even in online we don't want to release it and be
Yeah.
healed. Oh, I'm fine. You hear it all the time. Always those two words, I'm fine. But in the meantime, you're losing hair, you have
Hmm.
stomach issues, you have migraines, you're in the office every week for the same thing. You swear there's something wrong with your private parts and
Hmm.
nothing is working, and you got this cough or you got this headache or you got this neck pain or back pain, that there's nothing wrong. Labs, x-rays, CAT scans, MRIs are all negative, but you
Hmm.
have this thing because you're walking around in unforgiveness
Yeah.
and you don't
Yeah.
know, either you don't know how to let it go or you don't want to let it go.
Yep. Hmm.
So if you don't
Hmm.
want to talk to us, then you need to make an appointment at Manatee Associates of Counseling and Assessment LLC.
Yes. Yep.
Yes, where there are trained professionals that can actually help do the job.
Yep.
Because we're, like you say, we're still bitter and we don't want to
Yep.
be better and we don't want to see our future self.
Hmm. Hmm.
Even in rape, molestation, things that we've gone through in life, if we're still holding on to it, and
That we're
what you're
allowing it
doing.
to. Yep.
Yes,
It is this piece of, you don't have to be defined by what you went through. And
right.
so it's kind of like you can be impacted by the things that have happened to you, but you don't
Mhm.
have to allow the things that have happened to you to define you.
Mm. Wow. And there is definitely power in saying, not saying that you're not going to have a relapse, not saying that you're not going to get to that low place from where God brought you from.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is to not stay there, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's it. Got to pick
Mm-hmm.
yourself up. Oh my goodness. Listen, I don't know if it was good for them, but it is definitely good for me. And you do like women groups and this sort of thing, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
so that's
Yep.
something that they schedule and get together with
Yep.
you. Okay.
Yep. I'm
Okay.
gonna have a retreat coming up soon. I gotta figure out. I'm gonna have a couple of retreats. I just gotta figure out dates, and I'll end up sending information out and advertising for that. And when I do retreats, sometimes I do like a weekend retreat that will be in the Orlando area.
Okay.
Um, the last one I did was called Broken to Breakthrough, and we had a great time together. And
That's awesome.
everybody, yep, yeah, everybody came in and expressed their brokenness, and then got their breakthrough by the end of the retreat. Mhm.
Please make sure that you send me the information. I just
Mhm.
released a book on Amazon called My Broken Pieces. And oh my God, when I
Love that.
say
Mhm.
the cleansing that went behind it, the book I wrote before was called Forever Growing. Letting us
Mhm.
know some things that we got to let go in order to grow, and I was planting these vines and knowing how to nurture it and knowing how to not to overwater it, giving it the right soil in order for it to grow. And so when
Mhm.
I wrote this book, My Broken Pieces, oh my goodness, I'm like, wow, you are a mess still. It's there's still some things in areas
Mhm.
of your life that you're still dealing with that, you know, you trust him. You say you gave it to him, but that little thing still right there with that
Still
mustard
holding
seed.
on. Still got your
Yeah,
pinky
yeah,
on it.
yeah, yes, it's still there. So I released that one saying the same thing. We got the help is available. I always say
Hmm.
that through my nursing career, we're only allowed to do so much counseling, but I always
Hmm.
say help is available. Professional help is available. Someone is there to be able to allow you to get to the place of healing that you need
Hmm.
to. And then you're not
Hmm.
wasting dollars, hundreds of
Right.
dollars, thousands of dollars
Hmm.
for something that if you just let it go and heal,
Yep.
this thing will heal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 7, 8, 10 pills. But if you would just heal and let it go, oh my
Hmm.
goodness. I hope and pray that whomever was afraid to tap into the video tonight, that you will tap in, like, and share, and send it to someone that really needs to hear this information on tonight. It is also available on YouTube too. So if they don't have Facebook, they can always copy and paste and be able to send information, understand and know that you can reach out to Manatee Associates of Counseling and Assessment LLC. Um, Dr. Patricia Dixon has went to that length to even have these counselors that she know that she trusts, that is confident and capable to be able to reason with you by the wayside to get you to where you
Hmm.
need to be so that you can heal. Take advantage of it. It's here. You don't see it often. You don't hear it often. You just know it's two, three, $400 to go sit
Hmm.
on the couch and talk about what we just talked about on tonight. That's all I'm saying. So God provided on tonight because there was still some that still needed this, that was still dealing with this on tonight, and I'm raising my hand on top of that. So I mean, let us help you. That's what we're here for. That's why we connect with people like Dr. Patricia Dixon, because we understand and know that they have a gift. And as she said earlier in the conversation, if you missed it, 6 years old, even her mom recognized the gift that was in her, that was
Hmm.
being nurtured, that she was
Hmm.
walking into, and
Yeah.
it didn't fail because here she is today to bless all of us. Any last words, comments, shout outs?
Just an appreciation for having me on. Again, thank you. This is my passion. So to be able to talk about mental health and wellness is always a welcoming discussion for me. So thank you for having
Wow.
me. Mhm.
Oh, thank you so much for saying yes. And then you do, like you say, you do conference. So you do the couples conference, and then
Mhm.
you do like singles, men, women.
Yep,
Okay.
I'm working on how to do a men's workshop and conference, because that for me is a little bit um, tricky in the sense of I want a male co-facilitator, um, and then so it just gets a little tricky. Like it's I'm working on some of that stuff, um, and
Hmm.
because you have to have the right person leading that group, so yeah,
Right.
it's a work in progress. Mhm.
So, Mr. Roger, do you think something like that would be effective in our area?
Yes, it will. It'd be great in our area.
Mhm.
It's much needed, especially for marriages, those that's contemplating on getting married, even just for the singles. It's
Hmm.
definitely
Mhm.
much needed. It's definitely be a great stress reliever, and also to get to know yourself.
Hmm.
A lot of times we think that we know ourselves and we don't until we get around others and we start to see ourselves within others, and then we start recognizing who we really are.
Hmm.
So it is much, much needed, much needed.
And then the thing about the men, do you think that would be something that would be a positive impact in our area?
Anything that we as men can get is much needed. Anything,
Yeah.
even
Mhm.
just a hello, a hey, how you doing? Or you doing a good job? Or a pat on the back is much
Mhm.
needed. You'd be
Wow.
surprised at the
Mhm.
stress that we go through just trying to provide for our family and the ups and downs that we have on the job, the things that we don't talk about and bring home and keep the smile on our face. And at night we're crying within, trying to maintain for our family, and we're on the
Mhm.
edge of breaking down, either blowing up, one of the two. But
Mhm.
this is much needed. Say, hey, Tell your spouse, hey, I really appreciate you. Thank you
Mhm.
for not leaving. Thank you for staying. You know what I mean? Thank you for putting up with me. Thank you for being a provider. You know what I mean? Thank you just for being you all by yourself. It's much needed. Much, much needed.
Emotional
Well,
snacks.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So thank you for staying. Thank you for not leaving me. Thank you for being a
Mhm.
provider and a shelter. Thank you for being my leaning post and my chauffeur, even though you quit on me sometimes.
See, she just threw
And
you your Scooby
yeah,
snacks. Yeah.
yes, I just gave you a Scooby snack, babe.
Yeah. Mhm.
Appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. You're quite welcome. So she's even helping on tonight, doing couples counseling live right here on Hanging with the Walker. So, ladies, you got to give your husband a Scooby snack. You got to give him his
Yep.
snack. You got to feed him
Mhm.
not just natural. You got to give
Yep.
him an emotional snack so you can
Yeah.
build him up and not be a knife, but be a wife. Oh my
Yes.
goodness! Thank you,
Yeah.
Juanita
I love
Bynum.
that.
There
Mhm.
is a young man. His name is Lou Johnson. He does a trying to build this 100 men. Sometimes he does a theme of 100 men in black, 100 men in white, but in
Mhm.
our area, he's trying to bring the men together.
Mhm.
And it's such a fight because, like you say, sometimes they don't feel like they need it. They know they
Yeah.
need it, but taking the time to do it. So whenever you start to do anything like that, the same thing. Please
Mhm.
let me know. Please reach out.
Definitely
However,
will.
I can help to bring groups together. We are in the Wamama area, so we're about 45 minutes away, right, babe? About 45 from Palmetto.
From Palmetto. Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
correct.
So we're not that far away. So that when you do
Mhm.
something like that, we do know people in different areas, doing different things that it would be awesome for to reach out to. So please let me know whatever information, email me. I'll definitely share it and
Mhm.
try to attend things that we know that are for us because I like to learn, like to
Yeah.
heal, like to share. So I
Mhm.
appreciate you and definitely want to keep in contact for things
Mhm.
that we have coming up. Checking your schedule to see where you are, what it is that
Mhm.
you're doing that we could, gravitate to and that sort of thing. So I look forward to that.
I do as well.
Okay. Okay. Any other shout outs to anyone else before we go?
I would have to say just one more shout out just to my team at Mancy Counseling, or Mancy Associates of Counseling and Assessment, because they are great, and they care a lot, and it shows in the work that they do, and the healing that we get the privilege of being able to see. So just to all the counselors, they're
I,
a great.
I
I got
can't
a great
imagine.
team.
I
Hmm.
can't imagine. I can't imagine. I do have your address and whatnot. And we
Hmm.
have this young man that's doing cupcakes for my book. So I got to make sure that I send some cupcakes to your office, to tell them
Please
thank you and
do.
everything.
Please do.
Getting them real snacks.
Yes.
All right.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. Just know that we're connected at the hip now. And please send that information whenever you have it. Just email me and flyers or whatever you have. And I'll make sure that I put it out and I spread it to wherever. Connect
Mhm.
with, whomever to kind of like refer and say, hey, Doc is doing this, you need to get there. You need to be encouraged, you need to be built up. So, because that's what I'm here for. I want us to know that we can heal. It's real,
Mhm.
and you and I
Mhm.
stand as a witness to the world that if God
Of
can
healing.
heal us
Mhm.
from that,
Mhm.
He can heal
Mhm.
you from anything. Because that was something
Mhm.
that we felt as if we're not gonna get over this. This is,
Yeah.
God, I love you, but listen, we need to talk some more about this thing. So we stand
Yeah.
as witnesses. We stand as witnesses that God can do it, and only
Yes.
God can do it. So,
Yeah.
but thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for being transparent. Thank you for sharing, Buddy, on tonight.
Yeah. Yep.
We
He was not gonna
appreciate that.
not be making an appearance. Yep.
I love it. I love it. That's where you're supposed to be like, hey, don't look over me. I'm here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have an awesome night. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to hang
Mhm.
out on Hanging with the Walkers and know that we love you and truly there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, thank you. Thank you
Okay,
again.
we'll talk
Mhm.
soon.
Okay.
Good
Bye.
night.